I want to share something we worked on recently that I think a lot of L&D heads and HR leaders will relate to. A large FMCG enterprise came to us with what looked like a straightforward training requirement. Their service desk team needed ITIL foundation. But when we actually sat down with them and started asking the right questions, the real problem had nothing to do with ITIL knowledge. And that changed everything about how we approached it. So here is what was actually happening on the ground. The service desk team was handling tickets, but the same ticket was being handled differently depending on who picked it up. Prioritization logic was inconsistent across team members. Tickets were getting reassigned multiple times because ownership wasn't clear. And the team was heavily dependent on some senior members for decisions that should have been straightforward. Now the obvious assumption here is that these people don't know ITIL well enough. Train them on the framework and the problem goes away. That's not what we found. Before we proposed anything, we ran a training need analysis. And what came out of that was interesting. The issue wasn't that people didn't know ITIL. The issue was that they each applied their understanding differently. There was no shared decision logic. So when a ticket came in, every team member was making a slightly different judgment call based on their own interpretation of the exact same framework. That's not a knowledge problem. That's an alignment problem. And those two problems need completely different solutions. So we designed the sessions around that specific finding. Instead of delivering ITIL as content, we built the sessions around the real ticket scenarios that the team actually dealt with. Participants would walk through their approach to a ticket out loud in front of the group. And that's where the difference surfaced naturally. Two people, same scenario, completely different decisions, both believing that they were following the ITIL framework correctly. Once those differences were visible, we could map ITIL principles to them. Not as a theory, as a shared reference point for how this specific team should handle these specific situations. This is a very different kind of learning experience. Over the following weeks, the team lead started noticing changes. Ticket handling became more consistent. Reassignments dropped. We tracked an 18 to 22% of reduction. Prioritization decisions were happening faster, around 15% improvement there. And the dependency on senior team members for routine decisions started reducing. Now, these aren't dramatic numbers, but for a service desk team handling volumes every single day, that consistency compounds quickly. The team lead put it simply, people stopped handling tickets their way and started handling them the right way. The reason I'm sharing this is not to talk about ITIL. It's because of this situation. A team that knows something but applies it inconsistently is one of the most common things we see when we sit down with L&D heads and HR leaders. The training brief comes in asking for a certification program, and sometimes that's exactly the right answer. But sometimes the real problem is upstream of the certification. It's about how knowledge gets applied as a team, not just whether the individual have been trained or certified or not. That distinction is worth exploring before you design any learning intervention for your team. If this is something your team is dealing with, or if you're not sure whether you have a knowledge gap or an alignment gap, that's exactly the kind of conversation we have in a discovery call. No pitch, no proposal up front, just an honest look at what's actually happening and whether we are the right fit to help. Link is below if you want to book the conversation.